and I'm so excited to talk to you tonight. This is my first Q&A interview ever in my life. And my very first guest is someone who I have admired for many years. He's a fashion designer. His name is Sam Donovan. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm good. So for those of you that do not know, Sam was a contestant on Under the Gun, which was a Project Runway spinoff. I believe that aired in like 2014.
Yes.
And he was so wonderful on that show. I think he was the runner-up, very close to winning. He was invited back to All Stars season 5, which was pretty impressive. So 2-time Project Runway contestant we have with us. So I'm so thrilled you're here tonight. And I know that these are difficult times for all of us. And tonight we're just going to have a little bit of fun, a little bit of levity, and just hopefully we'll have some wonderful guests that'll join us and give us some questions. But I also have plenty of guest questions for you as well. So Sam, you were born in Massachusetts, right? You're a Massachusetts native.
Yes, I was. I grew up in North Andover, and then I moved to Newton when I was 11. So
you are totally a New Englander.
Yep, I live in New Bedford now. Actually, I am. It used to be. It was the former textile capital of the United States, so I feel very at home here.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect for you, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I live in the former Wamsutta Mill, which is if you ever go to Walmart, they still sell their sheets.
Well, that is a really helpful tip for us now. Thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
So you went to school at Parsons, right? So that must have been an exciting time. What was it like when you got your acceptance letter to Parsons?
I was actually I had just gotten rejected from FIT a couple of days prior to that, and I was a very strong sewer when I was younger. Couple of jokes there. Yeah. But, I was like a very strong sewer when I was younger, and FIT put a premium on sewing, so I had zero hopes of getting into Parsons after I got rejected from FIT. And I used to lie in my bathtub because that's the only place I could get internet in my house. Wow. It was way before Wi-Fi. It was like 2009, way before Wi-Fi was actually good. So I used to sit in my bathtub, and I remember going through my email, and I got an email from Parsons, and I was like, oh, here it goes. And it was, welcome to Accepted Students Day. We're so excited to have you. And I was like, whoa, I didn't get I didn't get an acceptance. So it was kind of crazy for me to see that. I remember calling the school and just being like, is this real? Is this real? I was
sure.
I was in a state of disbelief. My mother used to tease me. She was like, you were like the mistake that they made, and then they couldn't go back on it.
Well, if that was a mistake, it was the best mistake they ever made.
I caused a lot of havoc at that school. I don't know if they would share that opinion.
Good for you. Everybody needs a little havoc, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have a bunch of questions, and I know a few people have come on already and are going to be typing in some questions. These are in no particular order, and if you, I did add a couple of juicy ones in there. As you said, you might be willing to spill a little tea tonight. And
way to use that phrase. Excellent. Well done.
You're welcome. Thank you. And if you're not comfortable, you can keep the tea in the cup. But
I will take a sip of the proverbial tea if I am.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So tell me about the kind of clothes you like to design, and who is your person that you design for?
So when I was growing up, I see a question about how old I was when I learned to sew. So I'll feed this into that.
Sure.
I had a weird sort of backdoor entry through fashion. I was really obsessed with getting my mother to try on clothes that she loved, because she always had this weird relationship where she hated clothes. She never thought that they fit her. And I was like, but Mom, you're like the most beautiful woman in the world. How could you think that? So I used to sort of try to make up outfits out of her clothes and present them to her, and they were always terrible.
Right. I'm sure they were terrible, but
when I was after I actually saw my first episode of Project Runway, I realized fashion could be a career, and that was about when I was 12 years old. So that's about the time that I started learning how to sew. And I was very much so self-taught. I just got on the machine, I got on my dress form, and I just practiced. And playing around with patterns, playing around with different fabrics really helped me from an early age, sort of like figure out how fabric works.
Right.
So the way that I have always designed is I always designed kind of with a person in mind. And that person's always sort of like supposed to be like super confident and super like defiant about the expectations that they feel are put on them, which is, I think, how I wanted my mother to feel when she would try on clothes. Because again, most beautiful woman in the world, no reason she should be afraid of any clothing. But I think that the person I generally design for is like Amelia Earhart, because I always think of her as being kind of like, nah, like, screw you guys, I'm gonna do what I want. And really, that really helped my aesthetic as I was growing up.
Yeah, so I can remember, I was looking over some of the notes on Wikipedia because it's been a while since I've seen your season. But what I really was impressed with is that you definitely had a thought, I felt, to like the comfort of the person, how their body felt in the clothing, right? So, I could really, and Amelia Earhart is kind of a perfect example of comfort fashion.
Yes.
Still being pretty badass, right?
Yeah. Weird little known fact about her, she had her own clothing line.
No, she didn't. Really?
She did. Yep. Amelia Earhart had her own clothing line. She was one of the first celebrity designers, as they were.
Wow, that is amazing. I had no idea. No idea. Okay, so aside from fashion, what else are you interested in?
Well, it's funny that you say aside from fashion, because I don't practice fashion in a designing sense a lot nowadays. Like I work with clients, but most of the time I think about the sustainable aspects of fashion. And I am also a fashion teacher at this really cool international school up here in Massachusetts. And we talk a lot about how to like sort of think of clothing not as just something that you go to a store and buy, but like where it comes from and who sort of might be suffering because of the way that clothing is produced nowadays, and how our planet might be suffering nowadays. So I spend a lot of time thinking about sustainability, and I'm planning on going back to school for my master's in the coming year or two at a school in Germany to get more education for myself on that. That's
amazing. Sustainability is so important, clearly more than ever. There is a big movement in libraries too to become sustainable institutions, which is, it's amazing how things just kind of cross over in life and where you can find inspiration from. And that's wonderful. And I'm so pleased to hear that you're a teacher, because I'm such an advocate for anybody that takes on a role of mentorship. And it sounds like you're kind of doing that with your students and just getting some really good ideas out there. So that's exciting. So go ahead.
Just about being a teacher, another cute little inset thing. When I was at Parsons, I used to make friends with like the security guards for a variety of reasons, mostly not self-serving, but occasionally. Right. And there was this one security guard that I became really close to, and he'd been there for a while. And he used to tell me, you gotta get like a gist of like what people are gonna do with their lives, and like the person that you remind me of is Tim Gunn. And he's like, I think that you're going to become a teacher one day. And I was like, that's not what I want to hear, but very flattering comparison. But, you grow up and you try a bunch of different things and you find out what works for you. And I love teaching. I love it so much.
So he saw something in you before you even saw it in yourself.
Everybody saw it in me before I saw it in myself.
You just had to come to it.
Yeah. I had an ex-boyfriend who still likes to taunt me and be like, I told you that you were supposed to be a teacher when you were at that godforsaken school.
Okay, he was right, but whatever.
He was right. He bought me all my wine for the quarantine session. So
oh, that's sweet. That's sweet.
I say ex-boyfriend. He's really my best friend.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. So now this is a question that I really do need to know the answer to, and it's specifically about Project Runway. And it's been bothering me for years, and somebody might have answered this already, but I have not heard the answer.
Okay.
Do you really only get 30 minutes at Mood?
Yes, you really only get 30 minutes at Mood, and it is. Have you been in Mood?
Yes.
So you understand.
Massive.
It's insane, and I swear the only reason that I did not have a full blown like panic attack in Mood is that I had been living in New York. I was in school in New York. When I got the call to go on All Stars, the first thing I did was go to Mood and look at where everything was.
Oh, so smart.
Yeah, well, and I mean anyone who is from New York either knows it like the back of their hand or does the exact same thing. And it's I think it was a point of contention on All Stars actually, because I remember somebody saying like, "Well, I'm not from here, so I don't know where anything is."
Oh, so they felt like you had an advantage because you knew the lay of the land?
Yeah, I mean, it was an advantage, like completely. But like, I mean, some people are really smart. I know that Emily like just made friends with this guy that I still go in and I see him. And he's like, "You never call me anymore." And I was like, "You've never had my number." So, but his name escapes me right now, but he's the guy in charge of embroidery. But she like buddied with him, and she would just go beeline to him and he would help her find whatever she needed. So
people I still am so amazed how you can accomplish all that in 30 minutes. So my next question kind of feeds into that, because before you go on the show, right, do you have certain designs that you already have created in your mind that you sort of kind of make fit into the challenge?
So I will try to, I see another question just came in, so I'm going to try to link up the two of those because it actually has happened before. The second that I went to school in New York, one of the first things I did was go to Mood and try to find Swatch. So Swatch and I actually had like a long-standing friendship before I ever went. My first season of Project Runway was in California.
Right, that's right.
We didn't have Mood, but we had some other little dog that I don't remember his name. Oh, Oscar. The guy who ended up winning was named Oscar. So it was rigged.
Yeah, it sounds a little suspicious.
But Swatch is a diva. Swatch is a complete diva. I love a diva. That's why I'm friends with Ken and Asha, even though Ken and I ended up getting into a fight. Swatch is a total diva. He has been so spoiled. But he's also just like the cuddliest little love bug in the world. And my first challenge on All Stars, I think, I like went up to him and I was like, "You're going to be my inspiration, black and white." That was a lie, but it did well, and it did make it into the episode. So
yeah, you knew what good TV was.
Yeah. As far as your question, that's a whole other story. But as far as your question goes, I think that you go in. I went in both times not thinking about what designs exactly I was going to do. I know that some designers came in with like a whole lookbook of other designers' work that they just decided to rip off. But I never really had that. I always wanted to be really true to like sort of like what I was trying to message. Both times I was on the show, I had a conversation beforehand with like a manager, sort of agent kind of thing, and he was like, just stay true to like what your message is as a designer, like what you sort of want to sell after you get off of this show. So the first time I remember, I was trying to be sort of sustainable, very ready to wear, very comfortable. And the second time I wanted to sort of bring that to like a sporty arena, which is why I couldn't get my hands off that mesh.
You did like that mesh a lot, Sam.
I did. I think that I actually have some of it behind me. Oh, you know what I do have behind me? I have Stella's skirt from the unconventional challenge on All Stars.
How do you feel about those unconventional challenges? Those are,
Are you kidding? They are the best. I won both of them. I am the one person in Project Runway history to win both unconventional challenges on his original season and on All Stars. I like bring all of the unconventional challenges at me.
That's right.
My students right now actually are, because it's an international school, they are all over the world. What I'm going to be challenging them to do is basically doing an unconventional challenge for the rest of the semester. And I've linked them to all of my episodes, and I'm like, you better do this. Like, if you don't.
Yes, maybe you could do a library unconventional challenge with them.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So when you say that, are you saying that books are going to start to get recycled? Is that what I'm hearing?
We recycle books all the time, and we're constantly taking books out of the collection. And yeah, so if you're ever thinking about doing a challenge with libraries, just give me a call. I'll help you out.
That sounds exciting. I'm excited.
It would be really fun, right? Because we've seen these amazing ball gowns made out of paper, so.
That's true. I have some really incredible students that have done some really incredible work. And I just know that they're going to do amazingly at this. But I'm also really excited, just like I think any Project Runway fan is, for the people I know who aren't going to do well. And I know that that's a terrible thing to say as a teacher, but I'm going to be supportive and constructive, which is not the judge's job on Project Runway at all. It is their job to make you cry.
To make you cry and be so critical. Yeah. So I want to talk about the judges in a little bit, but talking about, I know in Under the Gun, you were sort of made into teams. I think Mondo was your mentor.
Yes,
right?
He was.
So he's wonderful, I imagine, right? In real life, he's...
He is wonderful, but he's a lot to handle. I have to let that be known. And this never made it onto the show, but the reason that I chose Mondo as my mentor was he was in my casting session. And while everybody else was very complimentary and very excited to have me on the show, Mondo was like, I'm going to give you a no. And I was like, okay, well, I look forward to changing your mind. And when obviously the way that we did Under the Gun, we had that first sort of 6-hour look. My aim was to change his mind and then leave him in the dust. I was totally going to pick Nick or Anya. And then he was just so kind and genuine with his comments. And they edited them to make him look so strategic, but he was so genuine, and he has remained genuine. I mean, our relationship has gone through crazy ups and downs because he is just a real person, you know? And I've met a lot of people off of Project Runway who just aren't, because they were there for the TV show and they are all about the fakeness of fashion, but Mondo just isn't. And I just feel I made the best choice, even though he told me later that none of his designers were going to win. But, the show's off Lifetime now. I'd like to see them sign an NDA.
Yeah, so I think, being such a longtime fan of the show, you definitely can tell when somebody comes through as authentic. I think even with all the editing, and we know, if you have any sense, we know things are not as they seem all the time, and they want to create as much drama, with those stupid sisters that were on that year.
I didn't even watch that season.
You made the right choice. You did not need to see that drama. That was a mess. That was a hot mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you can see, I think, the people that come through authentic. I hope I'm right on the ones. All right. Let me see what else I got here.
Here, give me some names, and I'll see if I can.
We do. All right. So I'm thinking of there were so many with that same name. He won Seth Aaron, and then there was.
I know that Seth Aaron, a lot of people, I have never met him. I know that a lot of people from the show like him. I know that Mondo really liked him.
And who's your best friend from the show?
Come on, that's not a question. It's obvious. It's Asha. I just had her here at my house. I invited her to come and close out the Black History Month celebration at our school. And she talks about Project Runway a lot because of how she was treated online. I, as someone who is white, I had never really thought of racism and how prevalent it was. And getting to see it through her eyes the first time that we were on the show and the second time we were on the show, it really opened my eyes to that, and to really sort of be, open-minded and empathetic and kind of a fighter, instead of someone who just sits back and is no, that's not a problem anymore.
Right.
It's not it's not the 1950s, but it's still very much a problem. But
so it sounds like you guys were meant to find each other.
oh my God, completely. Like she and I like get to have these like amazing discussions that I don't think we would ever share with the world. But you know, I think we've both learned a lot from each other, definitely.
That's awesome. I like to hear about friendships like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her to move to
My best friend is on right now. I can see him. He just posted something. My friend Joe. I'm just shouting out to my friend Joe. He's on
Hi, Joe. Hi, Steve. Hi, Morgan. Hi, Anne. Hi, Tori.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's get back to our questions. Can you tell us something about Tim Gunn? Like,
Tim Gunn has the best.
Tell you what I think first. Like, this is what I think, because I watched him on that little show he was on during the day, and I felt like I thought I think he's so kind, and he come across as really kind. But I was like worried about him. Is he a happy person?
I don't know that I know Tim that well to comment on that. And I don't know that it would be fair for me to comment on that. All I know is that he is an incredibly kind person. He is an incredibly altruistic person. Some of my friends in New York actually live on the same floor of the same apartment building as him.
Oh, wow. What a coincidence.
Yeah. Total coincidence. I was at a party and I was like, Tim, like, come on over. And he was like, I'm busy, Sam. Like, some of us don't have time to go to parties.
He went like this. He went, I'm busy.
But so I'll tell you a little anecdote. So their apartment building had done some renovations and had painted all of the walls this like orange, like tangerine sherbet color. Yeah. And they came out of their apartment one day and he was standing next to the elevator with paint swatches. And he just goes, what were their names? Peter, Tom, you have to agree that this color is just dreadful. And by the end of the week, it was painted like a slate gray. And
it was perfect.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Yes. But yeah, he's just, I mean, after the show, he was very supportive of me and very supportive of my goals. And those changed a lot and he understood. But he wants to see people achieve everything that they possibly can. And we had a lot of good brunch sessions at the Met. He has fantastic taste in champagne. And also in home decor. There are very few people that I just have like absolute respect for. And one of those people is Tim Gunn.
That's wonderful to hear because he does come across as just this amazing person. Like, can somebody be that wonderful? And I'm glad to hear that he is. I think
that he's better when you meet him and when you learn anything about him in person, because he doesn't come across as sort of like stoic as he does in television. I think he's so warm and he's so inviting and he's so open. He's just such an open guy. And I think that that's something that I didn't know about him before I got to meet him.
I do. I've never met Tim Gunn, but I have a friend who actually did run into him in like a restaurant bar in the city, and she's a big fan of the show. And he was so welcoming, and and it can be uncomfortable. I'm sure you've seen that too yourself. And he was just so kind to her, and she was starstruck. It was like the best day for her. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else I have here.
I did see a question about Nina Garcia that I would love to answer.
Oh yeah, I did have Nina Garcia. So let's talk about Nina Garcia or Nina Garcia. Which is it? What's going on there?
Nina Garcia I only got to meet her once. But I've worked with a lot, obviously working in the fashion industry as I grew up and as I got more experience. Nina Garcia, I could tell from watching her on television, was just one of those laser focused, no nonsense professionals. And that when I met her, that was exactly what I got from her. She was not particularly kind to me, but she was very honest. She was very constructive. And I think that her judging was some of the best judging that I received on the show.
Yeah. I always think she's pretty dead on. I usually agree with her. It's come across as all business.
All business. There is, I mean, she was very, very kind to me when I got eliminated the first time I met her. And she was like, I'm glad that I got the chance to meet you, and she looks at you and she's like, I hope you can tell that she hopes you succeed. She really wants you to do better. And the judges tell you that, all of them tell you that, they really want you to succeed, because when you succeed, then it makes their job much more interesting. When people, throw together bandage skirt. I was going to grab Stella's skirt again. I was being shady. Yeah. When people throw things together in 2 seconds and don't put a lot of effort into them, you can tell that the judges are just bored because they have to pretend like they're interested in talking about that. And I think Nina, especially when the show was sort of still developing, she would just sort of be like, no, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah. Because we're frustrated as viewers when we see those things thrown together too.
Yeah, definitely.
The reason that I love Fashion Project Runway, that type of show, is because I've used this analogy before, is that, I like the cooking shows and, Top Chef and all that. It's fun, but you can't ever taste the food or smell it. And with the fashion, you can just really involve yourself in it. And I'm not much of a fashionista myself, but I just appreciate the art and the effort. And I'm always stunned, like how, it's amazing. So I just love it. I just think it's such a great, and I just like to see all the talent. And I'm glad it's still going in some form, and that there's other fashion shows that are coming out, because I think it's so important to, keep this, people are interested, and it influences everything, it's just so great.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we were talking about judges. We were just talking about Nina.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask about, so you had, I think it was Isaac, right? Was one of your regular judges.
He was.
What do you got for us?
No, I don't have anything. I mean, people just came up with this crazy conspiracy that Isaac and I were sleeping together during All Stars. And I mean, the man was very kind to me, but I never spoke with him outside of standing on that runway. So listen, my family still teases me about sleeping with Isaac, and I'm like, it never happened.
Okay. If you say so, Sam.
I mean, I did try to sleep with Johnny Wujek. Like, I almost got kicked off the show because.
He was the guest judge for you. That's right. Well, at least you're honest.
Sorry for any of the kids up there.
You have a type. It's okay. So, all right. This is a little bit going down the T line. Can we talk about Georgina Chapman?
Ooh, yeah.
Away from that. Was that weird for you, for you to kind of have that weird connection to that whole situation? Or was it really separate? Like, was she really just a fashion designer who?
I don't want to go too deep into it, because I think that Georgina is a very kind person who got wrapped up with a really terrible human being.
Yeah. You can plead the fifth, which is fine.
I might have to, just because I don't want to share too much, especially because I think that she really was caught between a rock and a hard place, and there was no
easy answer.
There was no easy answer for her, no.
But so beautiful. Yes.
Huh?
So beautiful.
Oh, ridiculous to look at in person. You just stare at her and you're like, no.
For skin, really? That's amazing.
It's crazy.
It's so funny. Okay, so let's talk about, I have seen this little thing on YouTube called 50 Seconds of Shade. Yeah. I've been talking to you the last few days to get some info on you, but I have seen it, which I think it's great. So I remember following your blogs along. You would post on one of the boards that we were part of, on Facebook, and you would write your critiques of the show after. And you're really good at that. You're really entertaining, and you're a very good writer. And it really was fun to see you in the YouTube. So talk a little bit about that.
So actually, everyone in my life growing up told me to be a writer. I had a teacher who ended up winning the National Book Award in my first year at Parsons, who I went out to lunch with after we were done being a student and a teacher. Her name is Tang Halai. If you look her up, it's like THANHHA. She wrote a book called There and Back Again. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Or no. That's from The Hobbit. I'll find out the name of it.
Okay. More comments later.
I always had people telling me to write, and I always really enjoyed writing. And do you know Tom and Lorenzo?
No.
Tom and Lorenzo are these like amazing bloggers that started blogging Project Runway with this blog called Project Run Gay. And when I was in high school and I was like learning about Project Runway and becoming obsessed with it and being like, oh my God, I have to be on that one day. Like I found their blog and I've just emulated their blogging style ever since. But what 50 Seconds of Shade was kind of a way for me to, try something new on the blogging thing. Like I had seen all the Tyler Oakleys and things of the world. And I was like, maybe I'll try that. And my sister helped me edit it because she was in film school at the time. And I don't know, it was just a lot of fun. And if you ever if you need something to do during your quarantine hours, everybody, and you want to go and watch the hours and hours and hours of me making a fool out of myself, talking about Project Runway and RuPaul's Drag Race. I have a friend who is quarantined with me named Shakaran or Lucas, and he's been helping me out this season of RuPaul's Drag Race, restarting it. And we just have a lot of fun doing it. It's not
a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's not meant to be something that we capitalize on. It's not meant to be something that we are doing for any other reason than just to entertain ourselves and stay in the house. And hopefully, give people something to entertain and spend their time doing.
It's awesome. It's great. And I hope people check it out. So it's 50 Seconds of Shade. You can just Google it and you'll come across it.
Yes.
So we talked about that already. Hang on. Let me just look at my questions here. Aside from yourself,
yes,
who do you think the best designer to emerge from Project Runway?
Oh, I don't think I'm the best at all.
I was just me complimenting you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My mother doesn't even think I'm the best designer to come out of Runway. That's the truth. That's Massachusetts. That's the Massachusetts motherhood for you. Man, there are just so many. There are so many amazingly talented people.
Is there anybody that you thought got cut too soon that you can just recall? I know it was
Oh my God. On my first season, Brady Lang is this incredible sort of contemporary casual wear, sportswear designer. He does amazing things. That's his Instagram is the Brady Lang. Lang has an E at the end of it. And he's doing these cute little masks out of all these little fabric scraps that he's had over the years. Mm-hmm. And he's just such an incredible young designer. And he got cut, I think, second on Under the Gun. And I was just first of all, he's beautiful. How dare you take away my eye candy? No, it gets lonely in that kind of relation. But he was definitely cut way too soon. I'm trying to think of anyone else. It's been so long since I've really
it has been a while.
I'm trying to think. I have another friend, Jefferson Musanda, who is cut first on season 13 or 14, and he does amazing menswear. And I think there's a question in here from Tim Edwards talking about menswear designers and whether or not I feel the competition's unfair to them.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I think that if you're sort of I feel menswear designers have the skills to make women's wear or to interpret women's wear in a menswear style. And since, what is gendered fashion anymore, really? You look at runways now and you're that could be anything, right. Male, female, non-binary, anywhere in between. I don't really think of clothing as something gendered, and I know a lot of young people who don't think of clothing as gendered. Most of my students don't really think of clothing as gendered, and they're from all different cultures. So,
yeah, that's exciting to hear that. And as a plus size person, it's also exciting to see over the last few years how we've been embraced with some more role models for us as role models. And that just is so exciting because there were so many times when I was younger where, I would have worn that if it came in my size, or, it's really exciting that is not such a stigma anymore, that we can all just kind of celebrate it and, rock the outfits.
Completely. No, and I remember being at the finale show for Project Runway 14 when Ashley's models walked out, and no one was expecting that. People, myself included, leapt up and cheered. Like, I was like pumping my fist in the air. It was such an exciting moment. And I still think Kelly should have won. But
do love Kelly. But actually, like, we get it. Like, we get why she won, and
right.
And that's okay.
And it was a moment for Project Runway to reclaim, its position as an influential force in fashion, and it really was,
All right, that's awesome. Okay, so anybody else, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and we will have Sam answer them for you. Let me ask you this. Do you have any secret talents that you would like to tell us about?
I am suspiciously talented at cutting hair with a box cutter.
Dude, you need to make a video of that because we are all in quarantine. Really needs a haircut. So if you can teach people how to do that.
No. I say this as mostly a joke because I did have a night at Parsons my first year where I had like a bang that kept getting in my eye. My hair was like really long in my face. It kept poking me in the eye. And I literally took a box cutter. There was this poor like Korean girl in the room with me, and I took my bang and I sliced it off with a box cutter. And she switched rooms after that, and I don't blame her. But
she's still having a little bit of flashbacks about that.
Right. She's still going to therapy for that.
It's okay. We all need a reason.
Right.
It's true. Okay, so that's cool. All right, let me see what else I got. And
I'm gonna spend
quarantine haircuts. It's a thing now.
Right.
Alyssa was host, right? When you were on All Stars, I believe. Alyssa, was she?
Yes, Alyssa Milano.
Yeah. She's super tiny, right?
She is super tiny. But what I think what's more notable about her is that she's again one of those people who's just open, Like, she is just, what you see is what you get. She like was excited for all of us to be there. She really got to know us as individuals in sort of the same way that like Heidi and Tim did, or not Heidi, Tim Gunn did. Heidi doesn't care about anybody like at all.
She's got her own agenda.
Right. I don't think Heidi like remembers who Tim is half the time, except that she knows that he puts money in her pocket.
Yes. So what Alyssa was like for me, it was a little weird to like, oh, there's different people, but she came across as such a true fan. It felt like one of us was sitting there, like she was into it in the way that we're into it at home. Like,
yes,
it was exciting, and she took such care about what she wore. And I know sometimes she would get some criticism of her outfits, but I always felt like she was really fashion forward, and I just really liked her style. And she was out there with her belly one season. I don't know if that was your season or not, but she was just great. And I kind of miss her as the, I wish she was on the new version. So
I think that Project Runway All Stars was such a, like, from when she came on, the first 2 seasons were a mess.
Right.
But from season 3, I think it was to season 7, like, it's such an incredible pocket of like television, because Alyssa Milano, for as much as people complained about her and was like, what does she know about fashion? I like Alyssa better than Heidi too, Joe. Much better. As like, she just brought this soul to the show. And you could tell that she was like really invested in it. And they would get into fights in front of us. And they'd be like, we're not supposed to talk about this in front of you. But like he and Isaac and Georgina were just so connected to each other. And that's, I think, why the show was so, so good. And it reminded me of the Heidi, Nina, Michael seasons of the original Project Runway, because they just got each other and they were willing to sort of have like fights, agreements. There was one of my garments, the athleisure dress that I did, the weird like princess dress that I did.
Yeah.
They made comments about that for the rest of the season, sort of sniping at each other, because Georgina and Isaac loved it and Alyssa hated it. But like it was just
normal, right? That's okay.
Oh, I loved that because it was so much better than, what I was really blessed to not have had to deal with the sort of Heidi, Nina, Zach judging panel. Because from what I heard from the people who had been on seasons with those three, they just weren't great judges. They weren't there to help them. They were there to kind of follow a script and tear certain people down and build other people up.
Yeah.
I just think that that's such a bummer because, I stopped watching Project Runway because it stopped being the show that taught me that I wanted to be a fashion designer and inspired me to do fashion. And it just became a show where people didn't get enough time to do things. And then they got, talented people like my friend Jefferson would just get crapped all over and be humiliated instead of built up, which is, I think, the entertaining part of the program.
It did become formulaic, and it felt very, there was so much product placement happening. And
the yogurt challenge,
it's so trend, like, what's happening here? And, I think most people who are true fans, it felt like, all right, we need to freshen it up or look back on those great seasons, and there were, and see what worked, and stop trying to force the drama or force something to us. Like, there's just so much to call on. And I haven't ever watched any episodes that were from other countries, but I intend to, because I've heard that there's some really great ones from around the world.
Project Runway Australia is the best version of Project Runway you will ever watch. Season 2 of Project Runway Australia I have watched Project Runway Australia, Canada, Philippines, America, etc. Season 2 of Project Runway Australia is the best season, hands down, of any season of Project Runway I've ever watched.
Well, this is a perfect time to tell me that, because clearly I have a little bit of time to be binge watching. So thank you for that. We'll definitely be watching it. Okay, so anybody have any other questions they want to ask Sam? Before I do, I have a little quiz for Sam to see if he can name the designer. I'm going to see how his eye is.
I do see a question about my favorite outfit that I designed on Project Runway or outside of it. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, most of the designing that I've done was on Project Runway. I did do a lot of designing in 2018. Where you can watch Project Runway Australia mostly on YouTube or Dailymotion. I saw a question. My favorite outfit I think I ever designed on Project Runway, because I just can't think of anything at the moment that I've designed for like a client or something, was either the wind dress that I had that I won the challenge with for the wind challenge, the fire engine coat that I won the challenge with, or the fire hose.
I remember that. That was great.
Well, actually, hold on one second. Give me just a minute.
He's coming back, everybody. Don't panic. Yes, Tim, I love the wind dress. I see you.
I liked it so much that I bought it.
Stop it. That's awesome.
Yeah, we have to buy back all of the things that we do on the show. if we want them, just because the show like donates them to charity. Hold on one second. Sorry.
That's okay.
The show sort of like recoups some of its fabric budget from, ooh, my hair got all messed up.
It's okay.
And it's also donated to charity from the proceeds before, so we don't get to keep them. But
you had to have it.
I had to have it. I shouldn't tell you this, but again, the show is off of Lifetime now. I stole the wind dress from set because I knew when I saw it, I was like, I mean, Dom Streeter came up to me, like sort of behind the scenes.
She was the winner of that season.
She was the winner of that season, yes. But she came up to me behind the scenes of that episode, and she was just like, that dress is so beautiful and stunning. And people don't pay random compliments on Project Runway, especially not Dom. Dom is very sort of like, and so that's how I knew it was good. So I knew that it was going to sell for a lot. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to afford it. So I knew I had to have it, and I stole it from set, and I do not feel bad about that.
No, I don't feel bad about it either. But how did you manage it? Did you like sneak it under your jacket or something? Like, how'd you actually, are you not going to reveal your secret?
I am never going to reveal my secret. All I will say is that flirting gets you very far on Project Runway.
Fair enough, Sam. Fair enough. All right. So any other questions? I think yes, Anne had a question. If Sam was going to do another All Stars, which designers would you most like to compete against?
Can I just compete against Mitchell Perry for?
It's your fantasy.
The only condition I have is that we're not allowed to talk to each other. No, Mitchell,
right. This is like the makings of a real show here now, Sam.
No, oh my God. You couldn't pay me enough. No, Mitchell is a fine person, but he is so frustrating to deal with. But who would I want on another? Obviously, I would have to say Asha. Like Asha and I, like, were each other's Katniss and PETA during Under the Gun. Like there was a challenge. I remember where like Asha and this girl Natalia were in the bottom together, and I went up to I was freaking out, and I was like, they're gonna send Asha home. They're gonna send Asha home. They're gonna send Asha home. So I like just remember this moment where I was like, if they try to send Asha home, then I will just go home.
You were that connected.
Yeah, because like we just had this weird connection from like day one, and it just went like 100 miles an hour from there. And I like still don't understand it. I don't know that I want to understand it, but like it's just like one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. And I just thought it was so.
The best thing you took away from Project Runway was that friendship.
Completely. That and the opportunity that I had to connect with so many LGBTQIA people around the world. I got, after my episode on Under the Gun, where I had that talk about growing up gay and the hardships that I dealt with, I got literally thousands of messages, and I still get messages to this day from people who just, young people, older people, who just tell me their stories. And if you told me that I could have won both of my seasons and I could be like a major fashion designer with both of his fashion houses, if I gave those stories back, I wouldn't even have to think twice.
Well, now you feel like you're making me cry. That's amazing. And makes me admire you even more. So thank you for being such an advocate and being there to listen when people really need to be heard. It's so important. And thank you on behalf of those kids.
You do it.
So switching gears, we got a little heavy there for a second. Joe wants to know how long a day does, what did he write here? How long a day doesn't it really take everyone to get ready? Oh, we were talking about this, Joe and I, yesterday we were on house party playing games, and we were talking that I was going to interview. So, like in the morning of the runway show, it feels like that makeup and those hair should be taking hours and hours. Am I is it a lot longer? I mean, clearly it's longer than it shows on the show, but what really is the time period there?
No, we really only get, they really only get the same amount of time that we have, which is usually an hour or 2 hours. On All Stars, I think we always had 2 hours, which is crazy. Yeah, no, it's totally crazy. I remember once I had a model and I was like, you know, can you like sort of bronze her up a little bit? And then Scott Patrick, Scott Patrick, who was the head of makeup at the time and who unfortunately passed away this past year. I remember him coming up to me and being like, come with me, come with me. And he took me into the makeup room and this woman was standing there slathering bronzer all over my model. She looked worse than Donald Trump, which is hard.
That's saying a lot.
And my model, this poor girl, Sarah, she's just standing there with her arms out like, please help me. Maybe we could tone it down. Oh, man.
So I see that Tim asked, was it really 30 minutes of mood? So Tim, I just want to shout out to you. If you had come on the show on time, you would have heard earlier in the episode. So you're just going to have to roll it back, my friend, and you will see. It was the first question I think I asked.
Yes, we do. Yes, Tim, you didn't throw it back. You threw shade. That was throwing shade, man.
I might or might not know that person, Tim Edwards. But he does ask another really great question of if somebody wanted to come on the show or had aspirations to be a fashion designer, what advice would you give?
You're welcome, Tim. I had this. I wrote this. You can find this on my Instagram, on my like saved stories. Someone had asked me, do you recommend being a part of a TV show, and did the experience help you? So if it's okay with you, Tim, I would love to sort of read what I wrote, because I had like an epiphany. And it sort of stayed true to this day. Or wait, is that even the question? What advice would you?
Yeah, no, he did ask the question. You just
yeah. Reality TV in my personal journey helped me realize that the road that I wanted to go on. You know what? This doesn't really work. If you want to read this, it's a great answer, if I may say so myself. It's on my Instagram. You can find it in my story highlights, which is right under my bio. What advice I would give someone who wanted to go on that show? If you want to go on the show, then that's really about selling yourself as a character. To get cast, you have to sell yourself as a character. You have to show work that is unapologetic. I think that you have to have a point of view that you are passionate about. They're really not interested in people who are just there to like sew clothes. They're people who are there to get into fights about their beliefs about fashion. And I think that like sort of the more of a stand you can take about what your beliefs are, the better chance that you have of getting on a show. And for when you're there, all you can do, 90% of the time, they know what is going to happen to you. You know, like
they already have the kind of the path laid out.
What I think that they do from my experience is that they cast contenders, they cast colorful characters, and they cast train wrecks. And, you know, they sort of like, a lot is forgiven for like the people that they cast as contenders. And that's, you know, I was blessed to be cast as a contender both times. And, you know, I'm very grateful that I was taken so seriously, because I also know that some people felt like they weren't taken seriously at all. And it was a huge bummer for someone like Fade, who was like kicked off for no reason both times. Yeah. And, you know, to go home and Jefferson, who was just the sweetest guy in the world, but just was not there to make drama, to go home against some of the people that they kept as like the train wreck, colorful characters. It hurts your soul. And I think that one of the things that you have to remember is that it is just a show. and all you can do is just do the best work that you can, do work that you're passionate about, things that you like. You're not trying to address the challenge. You are trying to like show up and show out, and show people exactly who you are. Because I think that so many people get tripped up, and I know that I did, on the show, starting over to try to appease the judges. And the second that you're trying to appease the judges, you've thrown your identity out the window.
Yeah. So just be true to yourself, really.
Just doing whatever are there children on this chat? Just doing whatever the fuck you want to do.
There's no children. My child is on here, but he's an adult, so that's all good. Have you watched the new incarnation with Christian Siriano as the mentor?
I've watched bits and pieces. Christian is a genius. And I was a huge advocate of him replacing Zach Posen on Project Runway, just because he knows fashion. He was not handed a company like Zach Posen was. He had to fight tooth and nail against an industry that looked down on him for coming up through a reality show. He's a brilliant businessman. But honestly, I don't watch a lot of reality shows anymore. I watch RuPaul's Drag Race because you can't not watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Like that is required viewing as far as I'm concerned. But watching these kind of shows now, I just think that fashion has stopped being creative in a way. There's a lot that Project Runway and Making the Cut, I saw a question about Making the Cut, and Next in Fashion, a lot that they have to do to sort of catch up with what people want to know or what people want from their reality show now. And what I keep saying when people sort of like ask me about these shows now is like, I would watch these shows again in a heartbeat if it was like the Great British Baking Show. Yeah. Because the Great British Baking Show is straightforward. It's no nonsense. There is no character that you can play up to stay. And all that they do is they make the best damn things that they can. And they're given time to make them.
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't understand why they haven't picked up on that formula, that how clearly that works for people, to just really giving people the time. Like I'm always like, oh great, it's 2-day challenge. Like that's really just to give them some time to really show what they can do. And I'm not going to say I don't enjoy some drama here and there. I do, but you can tell when it's forced and it can be uncomfortable. And I really think that true fans of the show watch it because for the fashion,
Well, in the latter seasons that I covered on my blog, I never watched the episodes. I would just watch the show to make sure that I wasn't looking at a picture, because I like my wind dress did not photograph well in the photograph they took of it. So I knew like I had to watch the runway shows to get a sense of movement from the clothes so that I was blogging fairly.
Right.
But yeah, like I just don't want to watch people cry into a camera. I want to watch them talk about fashion. I want to watch them talk about their beliefs and what they want to do, and what the challenges that they're facing. But like, I don't want to hear about, I'm sorry, I don't want to hear about how your mother never loved you. Like, it's not making me love you.
Right. It's true. It's true. So I want to say something kind about you. It's just a small thing, but when each season would come on, I would always like, well, let me see if I could friend some of the designers. And you accepted my friendship many years ago. And, we've never spoken before tonight, but every year on my birthday, you always type me a happy birthday on my.
Of course.
Yeah. And it just always, I mentioned this to my husband already. I'm like, oh, he always remembers my birthday. And it's just so sweet. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
I do what I can. I like, everyone likes to be told happy birthday. Everyone wants to feel special. And like, if all it takes is to like, type in 2 seconds, like happy birthday, like I'm happy to do it. So am I wrong? Was your birthday recent?
No, it's June 15th. I'll remind you when we get a little closer so that you're.
Well, Facebook will do so, but thank you for the reminder. Because June is going to be a mess of a month for me. I can already tell.
Yeah, it's a big month, but it's my birthday month, so we're all good there.
Well, now I feel better about June.
Yes, it will be, I think hopefully things will be a little bit better for all of us in June.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I'm going to try my little bit of a challenge. I hope this works. I'm going to pop something up onto the screen.
Okay.
You are going to tell me if you know who the designer is. Okay, so let's try this first one. Okay.
Oh, it's Zach Posen.
Your friend Zach. Absolutely.
I did not like Zach Posen at all.
Something's up with Zach Posen, I think.
He lost his company that his parents gave him twice. And just the reason I don't like Zach Posen is I never found him to be particularly invested in the designers. And then when I met him and I got to sort of see him judge firsthand, he just told jokes about your garment the entire time. And sometimes they were really hurtful. He made a joke about Asha's model that she looked oversexed and underfucked. And she cried on the runway, you know, and like we had to pause because this poor 22-year-old girl was just crying because she's standing there in an outfit that was a little revealing, and it was just everyone just looked at him and was shocked that he would do something like that.
All right, let's get his dress off.
Anyways,
go to him. All right, let's show our next one.
Oh, come on. This is an easy one. It's Christian Siriano for Leslie Jones. That made his career. Oh my God. This was one of my favorite fashion stories of like all time. That like no one would dress her. And then like he was like, hello, who would not want to dress you?
So Christian has had a few watershed moments and I feel, you know, and this is definitely one of them. I think she put it out on Twitter that, you know, nobody wants to dress me. And he was like, oh, I'll do it. And did he do it so well? I mean, she had her Pretty Woman moment that night. She looked amazing. And he's dressed her several times after, amazing. And, you know, and just recently, not to get into too pandemic, but Christian's, you know, stepped up to the governor of New York when he put out a plea for I need masks. He's like, I have sewers, I can do it. And I think, right?
She looks incredible. Like, it was such and to be perfectly fair, like I think that he could have gone further, and he has with Leslie other times. He could have gone a little bit further on the design, but she looks stunning. Like, and you just know when you look at someone when they love what they're wearing, and you know that she loves what she's wearing.
Well, that's just it, right? Because it's not like we haven't seen this dress before. We have.
Right.
It don't matter. Look at her face. She's so happy.
Exactly.
All right, let's see what else I got. I'm going to put that one away. And I have to scroll a little bit. Let's see.
Is this a Project Runway designer?
No, he is Project Runway related.
It's not Michael, is it?
It's not Michael Kors.
Michael Kors.
5, 4.
Is it Isaac?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
It's a little JCPenney, but it's good. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
Well, just because I'm so used to, because he's so famous for his color. So the first thing I thought was like that volume in the skirt looks very Isaac, but I'm so used to seeing color from him.
Yeah.
I think they even had like that whole challenge about him on Project Runway All Stars when they did like you have to use 2 colors or something because it's Isaac. So yeah, like that was why I was questioning it.
Yeah, I thought this one was a little tricky. So that was okay. So then I have 2 more for you, and then we're going to wrap up. And this one is one of my favorites.
Oh, Jeffrey. I love that he wasn't even trying to hide that he was trying to see his model shirtless. Like that was the best part about that to me.
Jeffrey was such a great person to watch on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Not only I thought his fashion was always interesting and exciting, but his character, you know, you felt his pain when he was like in pain, and then the next minute he'd be making like the most brilliant sarcastic remark to Christian or something. It was just fun, and I'm really happy for him that he won. And I mean, I don't know what to make of this whole thing here, but I
would love to wear that. I have to say, I mean, like I'm seeing a little bit of moose knuckle that I am not 100% a fan of.
Yeah. But maybe a watered down version of this could be.
I would definitely wear the jacket and a version of the pants that had a place for the parts to go.
Pieces. Okay. All right. So our last one that I'm going to show up, I think is absolutely stunning, and I hope you agree.
Okay. Ooh. Well, I can't see her face, but who does this remind me of? Oh no, it's not
I think it's you, Sam.
Is it? It's not me.
This came up as what a way to end.
Moment. It was the perfect way to end. Are you kidding? No, I've never seen this before in my life. It looks to me like does it come up on Google? I've never seen this before.
So I Google, I'm like Sam Donovan's dresses, and then there's some that I knew. I'm like, oh, this one's really pretty. Let's put this on.
You know what's funny? It looks like the sleeve detail looks like something that Michelle from Under the Gun did a lot. I wonder if it was something that she did and it was on an article. Hold on, Sam Donovan dresses. Let's see. Part of an article talking about the clothes that we hit on.
Do you see my friends laughing at me on the feed right now?
I do. This is why you can't shade people. Because it will come back to haunt you.
I wasn't trying to shame you. I was trying to show a beautiful dress.
No. The Tim person that you shaded.
Oh, I did shade him before. You're right. I did.
Where? Oh, that is so weird.
Now it comes up pretty high in the search.
It does.
Well, thank you. Alicia.
It's a photographer named Sam Donovan. It's a Free People dress that they retweeted the dress to get a 20% off or something.
Okay. But it does come up quickly with your other designs.
Ooh, I'm kind of concerned now that this person is kind of be me. This is weird. I don't like this. I'm just gonna log off of there.
Yeah, don't look at that. I'm gonna get that off the screen. So there's Sam. Okay, I am so thrilled that you did this with me tonight. It was so right now libraries are really struggling to find a way to be relevant and engaging for our patrons because our doors are closed. And I think this is just a really great way for us to get together and talk and engage. And I know that everyone that was on was really appreciative of you being here. And it was just a pleasure to get to know you. And I hope that we get to do it again, a part 2 one day.
I would love to do a sequel. A sequel sounds great to me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam, and have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone who showed up. I just waved at the list of people.
Bye, list.
Bye, guys.
Bye.